Hi again, welcome. Okay, today we're finishing up the other question that Karina from California had about her child. First we talked about the sports. Now today she asked, what was the hardest thing about school and how did you deal with it? Well, Karina and all you moms out there, I think the hardest thing for any mom is the first day of kindergarten. Whether your child has hydrocephalus or anything else or nothing else, and going to kindergarten is a killer. I mean, seeing your child ride that bus, get on that bus by themselves the first day, you're so proud of them growing up and going out on their own, but then again, you're like, somebody else is going to be taking care of my child for half a day or a whole day or whatever your kindergarten program provides in your school district. That tore me up for all my children, including my child who didn't have a shunt. So that's a normal thing I think all of us moms go through regardless of any condition our child may or may not have. So that's a very normal thing. One thing I did to prepare though, before the school year started, I made a point of making an appointment with the principal, the school counselor, the nurse. It was a public school and they offered nurses, so we were lucky there, and the gym teacher. And I sat them down and we had a little discussion. I explained what hydrocephalus was, and we now have the luxury of the hydrocephalus wonderful booklet about hydrocephalus and our teacher's guide. And at that time we didn't have all those things, so I had to explain on my own what it was and try to get them to understand things. So I did, and I met with all these people and I thoroughly discussed hydrocephalus to the best of my knowledge. I didn't want them to make my children apart from their peers at all. I stressed that to them. Do not single my children out because they have hydrocephalus. But here are the signs and symptoms that if you feel like there's any question or concern, you can please call me and I will either come up and get my child, or I'll allay your fear, or we'll take care of it from there. If you notice, there are things you will notice in my child that I might not notice because you're going to be with them more hours a day than I am. But I would talk to the gym teacher and make sure that they were allowed to do everything that the other kids were allowed to do. If she had any questions, she was to call me, and that wasn't a problem. But to not be overly worried about hydrocephalus, and that was my main concern. I wanted them to understand that this is a condition, but it's treated by the shunt, and they didn't have to trod carefully around my children or single them out in any way. And yet I wanted them to understand that there are some symptoms that as an educator they might notice in my child that I might not notice, such as maybe the child doesn't seem to be paying as much attention in school as they normally do. Maybe the child seems to be sleepy during the day in school. If they had any of these questions, they could feel free to please contact me at any time. I was always available to them for their calls and concerns, but I made sure that once a year I met every year with both children's teachers in a group. I made a special appointment and discussed the condition because, in elementary school they have the different teachers. It gets a little tougher in middle school, but you still can do it, and I did it. And that's how we dealt with the school issues. I thoroughly informed the teachers and the principal and the people in charge of how I wanted things handled, and not to be afraid to treat my children just like all the rest of the kids. So I hope that helps, and look forward to talking with you next time.